Start. Good afternoon, one and all present here. I am Nainita Anjaria, working in Parur Polytechnic Institute in Mechanical Engineering Department. Welcome to all of you in today's webinar. Um, Let me introduce our today's guest, our today's speaker, Mr. Girish Ayya, who is first generation entrepreneur. He is an industrial IoT evangelist and a thoughtful leader having more than 25 years of experience in the field of industrial automation. He is also an expert in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and augmented reality, which is very in thing for today's industrial processes. He is a consultant, a trainer to many MNCs, including L&T, Linde, and many more. He is a part of Avdut Automation, which is an industrial IoT based solution company helping Indian manufacturing industries to achieve digital transformation journey through artificial intelligence, ML, and augmented reality and digitalization of industrial assets. We welcome you, sir, and we will be grateful to you that you will be sharing your knowledge and experience with all of our audience and all of our guests. Today we are having another guest, Mr. Bhupati, who is an innovator and industrialist, and he is also holding master degree in engineering design and having more than 25 years of experience in designing special purpose machine. Sir, we welcome you also in today's webinar. Now I would like to request Mr. Girish Ayya to start presentation. Over to you, Girish sir.
Good morning, because now it is a morning in UK, so that's why I'm telling good morning. So we are all foreigners, right? Because we like English too much, so that is the reason I thought let me say good morning. But anyway, when you meet someone in the first time, the audience, so I will, for me, it is always a good morning. So today topic is, we are going to talk on a smart manufacturing and its insight about smart manufacturing. So today is the world of smart, right? Right from our home or personal life, we all have a smart gadgets, no? So how many of you have a phone without a touch screen? Collect the count. If you have an interactive session, ask them to put, if the chat box is on, ask them to write me, M-E, me. Any of the audience not having a touch phone, only a button phone? I think it will be zero count, right?
Yes.
Because in the age of Facebook and WhatsApp, the old phone, only button phone is not working. That's what we know, right? So, so what we are going to talk about, the smartness, the smart. What is the smart element in the manufacturing? So yeah, go next slide. Yeah. So we are going to cover this topic. So I would like to demystify something about the smart manufacturing. What is smart manufacturing? Then there is a word associated with the smart manufacturing is called as a Industry 4.0. It's a very buzzword and everybody is behind this word. And especially after the unlockdown 4.0, where during the lockdown, everyone suffered in terms of a manufacturing unit and all. And now all manufacturing units would like to be on the smart node. They would like to be on the smart. So along with the smart manufacturing, the another word associated is called as the Industry 4.0. So I'll be explaining something about that. Then what is the industrial IoT solution? Because IoT stands for Internet of Things. But when it comes to the industrial segment, it has a different flavor, right? So that's something which I'm going to talk on that. And how artificial intelligence and machine learning based vision system can address a lot of problems. So on the manufacturing floor, if we use a inspection system using artificial intelligence and machine learning. So about 70 to 80% quality related problems are solved. So we are going to talk on one or two case studies, which Mr. Bhupati is going to talk on this. Yeah, next slide, please. So what is smart manufacturing? Yeah, next. So the smart manufacturing is basically a broad category of manufacturing that employs a computer integrated manufacturing. So what happens is, if you look at this picture, this is basically an auto industry picture and it was taken from a Tesla. So how many of you are aware about Elon Musk? The guy who is doing wonders, right? So he created the electric vehicle called Tesla. And now he is also doing a driverless car, and he has a dream of launching rockets in the outer space. The company name is SpaceX. So this particular picture, what you have seen, that was of robots working for the manufacturing unit, right? Yeah. No, don't go forward. Go back.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, one slide back. Yeah, one more slide back. Right? So this is basically a computer aided. So what happens is the computer or a technology is connecting all the assets of the manufacturing floor to make the manufacturing process what we call as a smart process. So smart process is something, if one section is doing some operation, the next two sections will know what the previous two sections are doing. And if anything happens to the previous two sections, the coming down the two sections will act accordingly. So that, the entire production is in a synchronized manner. Yeah, next slide. Yeah. So if you look at the smart industry, so today, the industry, there are a lot of assets of the industry, like there may be smart buildings, the factory buildings, the supply chain logistic, the power which is consumed by the industry, the workers, the workplace, everything is connected on a technology so that you can deliver a smartness. Now, for example, today we are in the age of social distancing. And now as per the government India rule, on the shop floor, there has to be a social distancing between the two employees. So now just imagine that two workers are working together in a normal space. Two workers will work together with a distance of 1 feet. But today, it is not possible because the minimum distance has to be about 1 meter or so. So now today, technology is coming to help the manufacturing industry that there will be a worker and there will be another technology gadget which will help them to make it a smart. Yeah, next. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah. So, no, I think. So, previous slide, actually, it's understanding 4.0. So, yeah, that's all. So, see, Industry 4.0. So, what is Industry 4.0? Actually, number 4 stands for the Industrial Revolution. Yeah, now next slide. Yeah, keep it this slide. So, in the Industry Revolution, you remember the first Industrial Revolution happened when a steam engine the steam was used to move a mechanical motion. That means if you have studied long back in the schools, we must have all studied the James Watt steam engine, where the steam is used to move the engine and like the steam locomotive. So that means the steam is used to do a mechanical function. So that was the very first, industrial revolution which had happened. Prior to that, there was no way where a mechanical motion was there. It was there, but using some creatures like donkeys, horse, elephant. But automatically, like when I use a steam, I can convert the steam into a mechanical motion. So that was the industrial revolution first. The second industrial revolution happened after the World War, where Ford Motor Companies started using a mass production assembly line using a conveyor system and electrical power. So what happened was, when that point of time, the entire assembly line was automated using a conveyor line, and the entire car production was put on the electrically driven assembly line. So which has increased the throughput or output of a factory. Suppose there is no assembly line, then what happens? There may be one car per day. But when Ford introduced this concept, they were able to generate more than 10 or 20 cars per day. So that was the production rate. So that was the second industrial revolution happened, where electrical power was used in the industry. The third industrial revolution happened somewhere in the area of 1975 onwards, where there was a development of electronics, development of computers, development of electronics hardware, communication technology. So that was the era between the 1975 to 2000, early 2000. Till that time, it was called as a Industry 4.0. And after 2004, where the internet started playing a vital role, where the Industrial 4.0 is called as a cyber physical system, or the entire ecosystem of manufacturing are getting connected using the internet. So that is the Industrial Revolution 4. So today, we are in the age of Industrial Revolution 4. Next slide. So I will explain there are a few components which will come on the next part of my presentation. So the Industry 4.0 has three elements. So that is, the key element is an information, which is in the center island, correct? So there is a physical assets, like there may be machine, there may be humans, there may be variables, there may be assets, there may be like say moving equipments, all those things which form a manufacturing unit backbone is connected to the systems or a IT system using the internet, using the communication thing. So what happens is, so there is an element of control, there is an element of computation, there is an element of communication. That means the assets which generates the information is sent to a central IT system, and central IT system will start computing, and it starts giving information to the stakeholders. Like say, for example, in any automotive industry, like especially if you talk about a Toyota. So Toyota has a system called just-in-time management of manufacturing. That means, are you aware about Innova, the car which is manufactured by Toyota India? Now, the Toyota manufactures car today, and there are 20 Innovas to be rolled out today. The door required at 11 o'clock sharp to the manufacturing floor, and it comes directly from the manufacturing of the door, because auto companies are not manufacturing all the parts of the cars. What they do, they have suppliers, and who the suppliers go on supplying the each part. So for Toyota, the particular door, the steering wheel assembly, the seat assembly, everything comes from a different vendor, and they supply it at the point of time when it is required. So when Toyota decides that today to manufacture 10 doors, I need 40 doors, that is 2 on the front door, 2 on the back door, to be delivered at 11 o'clock. And the entire ecosystem is such that the vendor A will deliver that whole thing at 11 o'clock. And all these things are connected using the internet, using the IT systems and the communication. So what happens is that Toyota need not to buy and stock that particular parts into their inventory and then use it, because it is just in time that today I am hungry, I need food. Tomorrow I need something, I need that. So I need not to store something and then consume when I want. Because that way they are reducing the space, they are reducing the time, they are reducing amount of manpower spent on that. Right? Next slide. So what are the elements of Industry 4.0? So if you see this, I don't know how many of you are going to see this thing, but there are few elements, like it's a cloud computing, there is augmented reality, there is a virtual reality, there is artificial intelligence, there is a horizontal and vertical integration of various assets. So all these things are a part of Industry 4.0, and Industry 4.0 is used for the manufacturing companies for a certain extent. So either a big company can have everything, and small company can deploy certain things which is required for their businesses. Next slide. Yeah. So how the industry 4.0 is used in manufacturing? Yeah, next slide. So why you need this? So what are the current challenges? So today's the current challenge is actually productivity. So what happens today's world? The productivity is less. There are a lot of factors, and one of the major factor is the workforce. And why the workforce? Because the demand is high and supply is low. So now, can we use the technology to the favor of manufacturing so that I can empower the workforce so that he can produce high result? And how he is going to produce? It comes in the next slide. Next, yeah. So the technology is going to change the future, and which has changed. Now, next slide. So the first thing is for the industry is a digitization. That means all assets, all information needs to be on the digital format. That means I have an instrument, I have a machine which is analog in nature. It may not communicate. So I need to add a digital footprint to that. And in the digitization world, what we call it as a analog instrument, a analog device, a analog equipment. That means it is generating an analog signal like 4 to 20, 1 to 5, or any voltage signal, any current signal, any current change, resistance change. All these things are analog signals, and this signal needs to be converted to a digital format. So these assets in the digitization world is called as a digitally blind. So when I say digitally blind, that it doesn't have a digital capability to transmit the signal or transmit the information on a digital platform. So the first, our foremost task for a manufacturing units are convert the existing asset to a digital footprint. That means if there is an analog, put an analog to digital converter, convert it into a digital format, and then use a communication layer to transport. So various types of communication methodologies are used in the industry. So there are industry standards communication protocols, like if you have heard of a protocol called Modbus, if you have heard, there is a protocol by name Profibus, Profinet, Foundation Field Bus, Ethernet IP. There are so many industrially approved protocols which on the shop floor exist. And when it comes to the IoT protocols, there are different set of protocols like MQTT, JSON, HTTPS. So those are a different type of protocols. So first thing is the industry needs to change from analog format to the digital format. So that's the first prerequisite. So a lot of students, a lot of academia is asking me a question every time when I speak on this subject. He said, why industry is not taking our help? We are good in computer, we are good in computation, we are good in processing a big data, we are good in doing so many things. But the problem is industry needs to have a digital data to the academia. So if you are doing a big data analysis and data itself is not coming from an asset, then it is no use of technology. So the first and foremost requirement is digitizing the industry with the technology. So that's the first prerequisite. Yeah, next slide. And once it is done, so you can see this, the whole concept. If a factory is digitally connected, then a person, if you see on the screen, the extreme left, the person sitting in a centralized control command center, where he can see the entire manufacturing process, which is displayed in a screen, which is displayed in a various graph, which is displayed in a various formats on the screen. The middle picture that is next to the robot, you can see two people. So those two guys are operating a digital panel where it is connected with the central command room as well as to the robot, which is next to the person who's standing there. And the one person who is near the robot is just observing the robot, that what robot is doing. He has to just supervise that, and robot keeps on doing the work. And on the extreme right side, you can see there is the hand with the mobile. That is the boss. The boss sitting in his cabin. He may be in his cabin, he may be at his home, or he may be at enjoying a vacation anywhere in this world. He is always connected to the factory with the help of a technology. It may be a mobile app, it may be a browser-based application, where all the four stakeholders are connected, and each one knows that how my performance are happening, or how the machines are behaving, how the production is going on. And this is what the concept of smart manufacturing, where each and every stakeholders are digitally connected to the physical assets of the factory. Now, how they are going to connect and what kind of technologies they are using, it will come in the next slide. Yeah. So now buzzword is a IoT. We are all like familiarized with the IoT, that is the Internet of Things. We are all fascinated by the the small gadget, which is very the Raspberry Pi. Where the Raspberry Pi, we do a lot of Python programming, we do write a lot of applications, correct? So this is the IoT, that is a Internet of Things. But when it comes to the industrial Internet of Things, it is having a different flair. Just imagine that you have used a IoT, a small Raspberry Pi box, into an airplane which is flying at a 35,000 feet, and suddenly the Raspberry Pi hangs. What will happen? What will happen at 35,000 feet? An aeroplane is operated by a Raspberry Pi and suddenly it hangs. You can't reboot. You don't know what is happening. It is in a very serious condition. So the industrial Raspberry Pis or industrial computational devices are very rugged. So industry cannot afford to have a R&D sort of approach. It can have a proof of concept. That is, if you want to prove that, yes, this technology can work, I can use a Raspberry Pi. But when it comes to the industrial IoT has a lot of norms, a lot of ruggedizedness, and it only uses the proven technology. There is no scope for industrial IoT to do an experiment on the running machine, right? So there are few technologies which I'm going to touch base on. Yeah, next. So if you look at the technology used, smart technologies, there is artificial intelligence and machine learning. So now machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, and deep learning is also a subset of artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is the new thing today, where I'm educating a machine to learn by itself, looking at a pattern, looking at a data, looking at an operation, looking at some of the instructions which is fed by the human. Second technology widely used in the industry is a virtual reality. We are all aware about wearables. With a lot of wearables, and we want to see a 3D movie, or we want to play a game on the VR box. But in the industry, the virtual reality is used to do a lot of productive work. Third thing is an augmented reality, where a device, a mobile phone or a tab is used, and along with the augmented reality software, it solves a lot of problems. And fourth is a cobot, which is called as a collaborative robot. So if you have seen the robots in the first picture of smart manufacturing, when I show that robots are the first one which can do a mechanical thing, and robots needs to be caged. That is, the robot, if hits a human, the human will have a severity. In a collaborative robot, what happens? A human and robots works together. Even though the robot arm or a cobot arm comes to very near to the human, automatically it stops, because the collaborative robots are meant to work along with the humans. And you will be surprised to know that Bajaj Auto at their Pune and Aurangabad plants, they have used around 65 plus cobots to manufacture a two-wheeler. That means on the assembly line, there will be one worker. Standing next to it will be a robot. So robot will pick up a part and give it to the operator, and operator will fit the part. Then another robot, cobot, will pick up that part and move it to the next. Like that, the whole operation is along with the human and the machine. So it is called as a man-machine interface. Then comes the digital twins. So in the digital twin, where I can replicate the physical asset on the digitally, and I can do so many things. And of course, the 3D printing. 3D printing has been part of the adaptive manufacturing, where I need not to go with the lengthy process of mechanical formation, mechanical fabrication. I can print with using a composite material, and I can come out with a metal part. I can come out with a light, sturdy metal parts. So how many of you are aware about Statue of Unity near your place? Hardly 45 to 60 kilometers. in the Kevadia colony. Lot of parts in that statue also been done using a 3D printing, because that 3D printing technology has reduced the manufacturing time, reduced the project cycle implementation cycle by more than 5x or 10x. Because the 3D printing is something like you create a drawing, you create a mechanical structure, and straightway you can print it as a physical part. And it is very, very sturdy part. Next slide. Yeah. So artificial intelligence and machine learning. So, yeah, next. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, if you look at artificial intelligence, so there are 4 different sections of the artificial intelligence system. One is sense. That is, there is a sensing. The sensing can be using a sensor. A sensing can be also using a feeding of data. That is, if I have a past history, I can feed the data to the artificial intelligence system. It will start reasoning out. So there is another thing is algorithm which reasons out. There is algorithm which is meant for reasoning out the data. Once it is reasons out, once it starts forming some pattern, it forms some algorithm. The algorithms detects the various types of patterns, and then it will act. Suppose if I'm controlling some machine, later I think in the application I will explain you how it will happen. So if I want to do an inspection, a camera will sense. The camera will work as a sensor to pick up the picture, and the picture is using a DSP technology. It is debugged, and the informations are extracted, and there is a pattern is observed, and based on the pattern, the command of acting is given. And once the command of act is given, there is a adoption. That means it checks, once the action is being given to the system, to the machine, this also studies the machine, that how the actions are happening, and once again it comes back to the sense and reasoning. So it forms a closed loop. Yeah, next. So under the machine learning, so what happens? Artificial intelligence and machine learning goes together. So under the artificial machine learning, so there are 3 types of machine learning. One is a supervised machine learning, where it's a task driven. So I can write a task to the algorithm, and it will perform the task, and it will learn by itself. That is called as a supervised learning. So I am asking the machine learning algorithm to do only certain things and study. So that is supervised learning. Unsupervised learning is basically data driven. That means if I want to predict a failure of a machine, and if I have a 5 years of data, I just dump the data to the machine learning algorithm, and machine learning algorithm will study the entire 5 years data. It will try to create some patterns. It tries to cluster out various happenings. Suppose the machine has stopped, and what was the condition? So between the 2 machine stop conditions, it derives a pattern. So that is called as an unsupervised learning, which is a data driven. And reinforcement learning is where you learn through errors. That is, if I tell that if there is an error, try to grab that error and try to see how the error came, and that is error-based learning, or it is called as a refinement learning. But in the machine learning, all the 3 elements are put so that the maturity of artificial intelligence becomes very high. Because if you start artificial intelligence without a data, so the first prediction, the first output will be about, say, 60% accurate. Over a period of time, when it matures using these 3 types of learning, the output becomes more and more refined, and the output moves from 65 to 70% to 99.9%. Now, how many of you have experienced the Google map when we want to go to the unknown place? Correct? 80% of time, the locations are standard. We get 99.9% result accurately. But if suppose somewhere we are going and that particular point is not mapped by the Google, then either Google will leave it that unknown road or unknown destination, or it will not give us a correct picture, because that learning has not happened into that area. So that's also part of the Google map is also part of your machine learning algorithm or artificial algorithm, which is running on the cloud. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, so now virtual reality. So now what happens is virtual reality, we are all aware that there is a variable, but I can also make a virtual reality to operate the plant or to study the plant. Now see, in this particular picture, what you are seeing is there is a pump and there is a water flow which is going on. Now there is a lot of data is available about a pump pressure, pump discharge, pump temperature, pump revolution, pump vibration. And that data, if I give it to the virtual reality server, and the server will throw back the entire scenario to the VR box. So when a operator is looking at a pump, he will start getting all the information, and he can see even a pattern of flow which is produced by the virtual reality based on the current values of the production. So that means if I want to inspect a device, how it is performing, whether the internal, because normally the internal I can't see, it's all covered with a metal. So if I want to see the internal, I will use a VR application built for that particular equipment, and I can see what is happening, and I can see anything in this world. Suppose there is a machine, there is a equipment, even our car. If I can build my a VR application for my car, so it can happen. And one of the fantastic news I will tell you now, if you have seen the aircraft, how many of you have traveled aircraft? Once the aircraft reaches the destination, what happens? Once the aircraft reaches the destination on the airport, the main captain, that is a pilot, will check the aircraft by going around the aircraft, looking at a strategic point. Like he will check some points below the wings, it will check some points near the engine, turbo engine, it will go and check a few things. Now, the new reality is, now the pilots will be given a VR application, and the plane which has moved, like say from Mumbai to Vadodara, it has traveled between Mumbai to Vadodara. So during that time, all information about plane's data is available. And once the plane lands at Vadodara, the pilot will wear this wearable, and wearable will get connected to the VR server of the local airport, and it will get all the vital information about the plane. And when he looks at a turbo engine of the plane, if there is any problem in the VR application, that spot will be highlighted with a red. Oh, there is an issue. So easily he can understand that this particular part of my plane has an issue, and then it can be attended. So this is the new way of using a VR application on the aviation industry which has happened. And on the manufacturing floor also, a lot of applications are there where a operator or a supervisor will wear that, look at that particular asset, and it can get a lot of insight about that asset. Yeah, next. The augmented reality is where a tablet or a mobile phone is used, and the tablet or a mobile phone is focused on one particular asset. In this particular asset, if you can see, they are focusing it on a panel, and they are trying to identify whether the panel internally heated or not. So the augmented reality application, what it will do, it will take all the parameters sensing from that particular electrical panel and will superimpose on the image or application, and it shows that which parameter is hot, which parameter is cold. And you can see that there are 2 red spots are there, there are 3 green spots are there. So that means he is getting the insight even without opening the box of that equipment. Just he has to target the phone or a tab to that equipment. The equipment will be identified by the augmented reality application, and augmented reality server will feed the data of that particular asset, and then it will be made visually displayed on that application. Next. So the collaborative robot application is where the human and machines work together. Now in this case, if a human, the robot cannot go and touch the human. The moment the robot arm senses that there is obstruction, there is someone standing in my way, the robot arm will stop there itself. It will stop the functioning. So that means it will save the person. At the same time, if the free space is available, it will do a lot of things. So now a human can do a handshake with a robot. Like if he wants to pick up that part, he can take away that part easily if it is programmed for that. So the collaborative robots are a new way to tackle to this social distancing problem after the lockdown. Next. And a lot of food industries are using this application, because in food industry you're not supposed to touch things with your hand on a hygienic front. Now digital twin, the digital twin is something like this. How it works, you can see on the left side there is a motor. Now this particular motor or a pump, now I want to tune it that the motor efficiency is say around 85%. Now I want to increase the efficiency of that equipment or a motor to say 95%. So normally what I do, I will actually change I will what I do, I'll do a lot of R&D work on the motor, try to do, increase the speed, decrease the speed, so many things I can do. So in that process, my motor wear and tear may be high. So instead of that, if I want to use in the IoT technology, industrial IoT technology, what I will do, I will use a digital twin software or digital twin environment where I have a mathematical model of that particular asset. Like say in our case, it's a pump. I can have a mathematical model and all the real-time data of a pump will be fed to the model, and the model will behave exactly on the same way what my actual model is, actual asset is working. Suppose the speed is 1240. So my digital twin model, which is created in the digital twin environment, also will have a speed of 1240. Now I have a flexibility of changing the speed of the digital model without changing the speed of the actual physical asset. And I can tweak the speed to say 1500, and I can see by changing the speed how my motor is behaving, because there is a mathematical model represented in a digital twin. And when I change any parameter, I also get the behavioral pattern of other parameters. And looking at a characteristic of an equipment, I can find out what is my optimum speed so that I can get a maximum efficiency of 95%. And once I get that parameter, what I do, straightway I just put that parameter into the motor section and adjust all the parameter physically to that motor on my actual asset. And from that instant, I will get my efficiency as a 95. So without touching the actual instrument, actual equipment, I can increase that efficiency from 85% to 95%. So this is called as a digital twin. And this is all used for a very high equipment like motors. Even today, if I want to do performance test of any automotive, I can create a digital model and I can do that. And for your kind information, Tata Nano, the crash test was done on digitally, and then they used to do physical test only to waste one car. Ideally, crash test where what happens in a physical world, I need to take a physical automotive vehicle and I have to dash it against a wall, and I have to see that what kind of injury happens, what kind of a damage happens to the car. So Tata Motors, what they did, they created this digital technology, and they used to do a crash on the digital thing. And finally, when they got all the safety factors okay, they just wasted one model to get physical reality done, whether my model and actual are working same or not. So in that process, they were able to save a lot of cars which is getting wasted just for the testing of crash. So this is the one of the technology which is used in the manufacturing industry as a digital twin. Next. Now, let us come back to the predictive maintenance application of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Yeah, next. Right. So, in the maintenance, if you see, there are three types of maintenance. One, we call it as a breakdown maintenance. That means whenever the equipment breaks down, I will do that maintenance. So that means we are all part of our two-wheeler, four-wheeler. So we always do that. Whenever the vehicle breaks down, then we send it for a maintenance, we get repaired, and so that is basically a reactive maintenance. So whenever the event happens, I react to that event and I'll do the maintenance. Right? So next is a preventive maintenance. So in preventive maintenance, what happens? My garage fellow tells me that, okay, sir, every 3 months you have to maintain this equipment and you have to send me to the garage, this car or a two-wheeler or a four-wheeler. So every 3 months, I'll just send that equipment, my vehicle to garage, and he will do the preventive maintenance. But in that process, really, I do not know whether from the last preventive maintenance, whether the 3 months is okay, or I can pull out to the 9 months without breakdown. That I am not aware, because I just go by the pattern that lasts for 4 years. Every time there is a breakdown happened after 3 months. So it is better to do a 3 months preventive maintenance. So in predictive maintenance, what happens? Constantly the assets is monitored and the data are interpreted from a sensor, and it also understands the failure condition, and also it tracks the anomalies, and then it generates a predictive alarm. So that means if my vehicle is good, I'm operating vehicle good, my maintenance will come, or my break point, my failure point will come after 9 months. So instead of going every 3 months a predictive maintenance, preventive maintenance, I can pull on the maintenance to the 9 months. That is one part. Second part is if I get an alarm before the equipment fails, I can take the action so that when I take the action, my failure point is actually moved away. So that means if the projected failure is say 9 months, and if I take the action, that projected failure now become 2 years. So that means without failure of my equipment, I can run that equipment for 2 years. That is the biggest advantage in today's world as far as the predictive maintenance is concerned. Yeah, next. Yeah, next slide. Yeah. So this is one of the typical example which is happening in the industry. Like I can predict the failure of pump or a failure of motor due to any pump related abnormality or motor related abnormality. So what do we do in the industry? The pump which is having a pressure and vibration, there are two signals which we can tap and which is available to the pump. The industrial pump will have one vibration sensor and one pressure sensor. Now, and the motor will have the current and voltage signal, which is a part of the automation which is there in the industry. So the artificial intelligence and machine learning will take these signals and constantly it keeps on monitoring. And what it monitors actually the behavior of the pressure, vibration, current and voltage. Because there is a pattern, it observes that during the normal course of action, the pressure, vibration, current and voltage behaves in that particular fashion. Now, due to some problem in the pressure, like there is a cavitation, it is called as a cavitation. If this is a liquid pump, and in the liquid pump there is a pockets of air, the pump will behave in a different way. So what happens is during that time, the pump vibration will increase. The moment the pump vibration increases, there will be a change in current and voltage. And during that time, the prediction model will start calculating the failure point. Yeah, next slide. So now, if the normal things are there, so it will calculate the efficiency and say, now the efficiency is about 86% and motor health is okay. That means everything is okay. So you need not to worry about that. The moment some abnormality starts, moment some problem starts, then the artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithm will start come into the picture. It will start predicting. Now what is prediction is, next slide. So now, due to the problem, the efficiency will go down. That means my pressure has gone down due to some problem or vibration has increased. And the severity of the vibration is so high that the algorithm telling that the motor is going to fail after 3 days. So that means I can also put some prescription here based on my experience. Please check the bearing, please check the temperature, please check this, please check that. And if the maintenance persons stop this process, checks that and replace the bearing, the failure point can extend it, because if I run this the same condition, the things are going to fail at 3 days. So if I neglect this, the motor is going to fail after the 3 days perfectly. But if I can take care about the prescriptions which are given by the system, then my failure point can be extended to another 6 months, because the bearing has already came to the last leg of his life. Correct? That's the reason it is showing me a high vibration, and it is telling that if I don't change the bearing, my motor will fail due to the overheat, overcurrent and other things. Yeah. Next slide. Correct? So now, what are the advantages using this technology? I can increase the productivity very easily, because my equipment is not going to fail very frequently. Machine safety. Suppose there is some calamity happens, and if operator is there near the machine, so he may also lose the life, or he may have some other damages on his body. So that is the human and machine safety. Third point is a lower operational cost, because now the operational costs are low. There is no maintenance. Just I have to change my bearing, and I'm saving my so many things. And what are the advantages? I got a better efficiency, quality control, and the biggest part is a quick decision making. Any abnormality, any anomalies are detected very fast, and it informs to the user so that user can take an action. So before a human can take an action, the system will alert and say there is a problem. Do something. Next. Right. So let us see some example of AI/ML. Go next slide. So this is the typical, vision-based, the garbage sorting system. Now, a lot of cities are under the smart city concept. They have this concept called the sorting of the garbage. So in our educated world, in our home, we never sort, right? We are all said, okay, garbage is one. So everything we put inside one black polythene bag and dump it outside. But when it goes to the smart city, when there is a central garbage collection center, and the garbage needs to be segregated as a part of the smart city initiative. So what kind of a garbage you have? There may be a PET bottles, that there may be some PP materials, then there may be a can metal part, and there is a plastic HDPE components. So if I have to sort this, so what I do, if you can see on the left side above the mixed waste, there is a robot within a vision system which identifies the garbage, type of garbage, and place it in a one particular segregation bin. The same way, the other robot also will try to pick up some bottles and put it in the HDPE rack where all the bottles are collected. So this things goes on. So that means now we are safe. I can dump anything into my garbage box, but at the central garbage facility, the whole thing is segregated. And this is one of the artificial intelligence based. Now just imagine how many types of pouch wafers, how many types of bottles, how many types of shampoo bottles, how many types of shaving tubes which are thrown off, how many types of toothbrushes we throw away. All these things are identified using an artificial intelligence system which keeps on learning by itself. Oh, this is the new toothpaste. Oh, this is the new aspect. Oh, this is the new object. And accordingly, it is classified and put it in a respective bin. So this is one of the application which is highly used nowadays in smart city projects where the central garbage sorting facilities are there. And then the disposing of this garbage happens in a different way. Yeah, next slide. So this is basically intelligent warehouse. Now, how many of you order stuff online like Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, so many sites, right? And how they deliver the goods? So they have a central warehouse and there are a lot of orders which goes on. And there may be a boxes which goes to the various distribution agencies. And in the warehouse, what they do, there is a conveyor line, and on the conveyor line the box moves and there is a box sorter. So based on the order value, order number, based on the agency which has ordered the box, that particular segregation will happen automatically, and the entire system segregates. So from the central warehouse, it is put on the conveyor belt, and on the delivery section there may be a 7 different agency who is going to sort out their box. Automatically all the sorting will happen. This is one application. Second application is happening in the airports. Like say if I talk about a Bangalore airport, in a Bangalore airport we don't scan our luggage. When we go for a checking, we just go to the boarding counter, we just put our bag inside, they will put a sticker, and the baggage goes in. The entire baggage sorting for various flights are done automatically using the AI/ML based system from a Siemens. So there is a bay where all the luggages goes in one common conveyor, and there is an automatic sorting for various flights, and the conveyor delivers to the various flight the collection center on the International Airport of Bangalore. So this is another thing. So now you can see there is a camera below the conveyor line, and there is a sticker which it reads, and automatically there is a 360-degree scanning of this camera, and you can place a sticker anywhere on the box, and it identifies with the high speed. The high speed, it just reads the barcode, interprets, and decides which box belongs to whom, and it disperses that box. Next. So this is one of the applications which happens in the food industry. So how many of you have observed that if you take 3 or 4 Pepsi bottles, 3 or 4 Coke bottle, 3 or 4 Bisleri water bottle, put it side by side, and you will see that the level of all the 4 bottles are exactly the same. And how it is happening? Because the machine which fills up the bottle at a prescribed level, suppose there is a problem and one of the bottle is not up to the mark, so that bottle is thrown out during the inspection. And you can see this inspection, there is a camera and the bottle is passing through the camera, and any abnormal level, he says not okay. right? You can see the first bottle in the picture, it says okay because the level is okay. The second bottle, the level is less. Third bottle, the level is high. So this time on this, the two bottles will be thrown off from the conveyor belt, and only the good bottle will move on to the packing section, and the bottles will be packed. So that means the quality is ensured before the product leaves to the factory. And you need not to educate. Automatically, it will educate about a product. So I can run a Bisleri bottle on this line, and suddenly I can change it over to the Coke bottle. I can change it over to any other type of bottle. It just studies the bottle, and once I have to teach them that, look, this is a Bisleri bottle, this is a milk bottle, this is a juice bottle, this is a water bottle. And after that, it studies and it learns and it starts working without any problem. So using this artificial intelligence based system in a inspection system in a food industry, where one can guarantee the quality of the product. How many of you are aware about, if you are aware about any Dabat basmati rice or any basmati rice, you will not find a single broken grain inside the packet. You know how it is done? Grain by grain inspection happens, and all the broken grains are thrown off before it goes for a final packing. So that is also using a vision-based artificial intelligence system it uses. Yeah, next slide. Now this is a inspection for an engineering product. Now see, there is a product which is manufactured on the conveyor, and now I want to inspect whether it is okay or not okay. So it may be a button cell, it may be a mobile phone, it may be any electronic gadget, it may be a mechanical part. So if I want to physically inspect a dimension, there is a camera and there is a conveyor system where the object comes below the camera will take a picture, it will provide all the information in terms of the dimension, color, size, the luster, any deviation is there, it says okay, not okay. Now if you can see in this picture, the actual part is shiny part, so it has to allow only the shiny part. Correct? So that is the physical inspection of a machine. Now this part, the second part, what you are seeing has a blackish surface. That means it is decolorized. So the decolorization has to be thrown off. So that it will reject the part next stage where that the decolorization part will be thrown from the production line, and the rest good part goes for a packing. Yeah, next slide. The third application is like I can count the counts. Like say this kind of manufacturing, where at a time I manufacture about 10,000 nuts and bolts, and if I want to find out whether all my nuts and bolts are same size, and just imagine if someone is going to measure individually the 10,000, he will take ages to inspect. So the new way is like put in a basket, and I take a snapshot, and I can get in one snapshot, I can get a count of nuts, count of bolts, and the dimensions. Now you can see in the picture, the bolts has to be 25 mm, the nut has to be 8 mm. If any deviations are there, that particular picture will be highlighted with a red, and operator will pick up that and put it in a rejected bin, and rest of the things are passed out. So this is a high-speed inspection for a commodity which is produced in a large. And if I want to do 100% inspection, I can use this artificial intelligence-based, counting measurement. Next. So I'm doing here three things. I'm counting the part. I'm also measuring the dimension. How many of you have seen the California apples? If you go to the superstore, in the box you will see like there is a 9 or 12 apples neatly packed. And you will not find any apple of a different color, different size even. So the sorting happens like this. If you can see in the conveyor line, all the apples are counted, and one particular apple that is not counted, right? So the apple which are orangish tint. So this apple on the going forward, it will be removed from the production line, and balanced apple will be gone for the packing. So now here two things happens. I can ensure the size and luster of the apple, and I can also count physically that how many apples have been gone for a packing. So I can do electronic balancing in terms of my stock checking that I have passed about 2,000 apples, and that has to be say 1,000 boxes or 2,000 boxes, whichever way I pack. So this is how my I can keep inventory management. I can keep a quality management. I can throw off the discolorization of apple. I can ensure that 100% pure, same size, same luster apple are going on. If I have a multiple apple, that also can be sorted out, so that I'm only going to have one particular breed of apple which is going for a packing. Next slide. Now, so let us have a case study. Bhupati sir?
Yeah.
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 Sir, come on video, sir. You are looking like a Mr. India.
No, sir, I'm in video.
Oh, you are there. Oh, I am not seeing you anyway. Okay.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir. Thanks for very good explanation about our smart technologies. Since we are running out of time, I'll just quickly narrate this case study what we have done. In inspection, automotive industry or plastic industry, or any manufacturing industry, nowadays it has to be 100% inspection. And there is when quality inspectors doing inspection, they have to take lot of decisions.
Next slide, please, so that the text
Yeah.
will come.
Yeah, lot of inspections, surface defects, sometimes dimensions, missing components, and some counts. So all these things have to be inspected. So when we are doing 100% inspection, then quantity, number of volume is more. Then doing 100% inspection is very tough, and it leads to some missing of product inspection. Sometimes surface defects we cannot detect, and this kind of situation we need to have this artificial intelligence machine learning dimension inspection and tracking system. So we have one of our applications charging pin that adapters. You can see that in mobile charging adapters, we have two charging pins, charging terminals. That terminal needs to be inspected for surface, dimension, and so many things. So what we have done, we brought customer has to dump all this terminals into a vibratory bowl. It has to come one by one to the conveying system. When it comes to the conveyor, it moves rolls like one by one towards the inspection area under the camera. So when it comes under the camera, it takes video and images in multiple angles. Then it will be stitched together and converted into a single image to identify the and dimension. Yeah, and then when it after image processing, then decision will be taken. There is a rejection. Two kind of rejection will happen in this case. One is rejection due to dimension, and another case is rejection due to surface defect. So after image processing, there is a two kind of defect, and there is no defect. It will be moved to OK bin. Then we have an option of counting different kind of rejection bits, how the report will be generated, and it will be displayed to management or supervisor in the plant. So in one shot, it completes many tasks. Inspection and then report creation. Everything will be done in one go. So that is the advantage using artificial intelligence and machine learning inspection system. Next slide. Next slide. Benefit for this artificial intelligence based system, you can check 80% faster than the manual system. That is very huge. So nowadays all the industries are going for automation and this kind of AI-based inspection system. And moreover, accuracy level is too high, very high, and then there is no chance for error. And in this system, you get graphical results and with any missing components, so many graphical representations support for daily detection details, everything, and it can be clubbed with application, it can be sent to management. So many advantages we can get it from this kind of system. Next slide, please.
Yeah, next slide.
With this kind of inspection systems, 25% productivity is increased, and very beauty is we can get the ROI in 6 months time. because this machine will not have a fatigue. If you ask the person to do the instructions, the person will do from with good energy. He will come from morning, he will do it till afternoon. After lunch, his energy level goes down. Then till evening he will do some slow performance. Then later on he will go out. But the machine will not have that fatigue, and it can be run 24 hours in a day. So that is the advantage. And this system can inspect 28,000 numbers per shift. So it depends upon application. We can increase this inspection numbers. Next slide, please.
Yeah, I'll take over.
Yeah. Thank you.
So how we do, actually what we do is we understand the process. So first thing, we always try to understand the problem of the customer. So in this particular application, you know that it was basically a charger pin. So have you seen your charger? There is one pin which goes to the 230 volt. So that metal part is so small. Now that metal parts, the company which manufactures that pin and supplies to all the charger manufacturer, they need to be inspected in terms of a dimension instead of any damage and decolorization, everything. So what happens is they manufacture about 1 lakh part per day. It is highly impossible for them to do a physical inspection of one particular part. So what we have given them a solution is that they will use the machine where all the pins will be loaded, and then one by one pin will roll out, and during the rolling out, the pin will rotate 360 degree, and then the pictures are captured, the videos are captured, and the video is analyzed, and automatically the pin is detected whether which pin is bad, which pin is not meeting the criteria of quality. That pin is thrown out from the production, and balance good pin goes up. So now the customer is going to get benefited because the 25% increment in the productivity, and it can run without any problem. Even though there is no worker, the quality inspection can go on. So what we understood the problem was for them, the problem was the quality, the output was low, that is productivity was low, and there was a lot of rejection. There was a quality issue. Even the faulty parts used to go to the customer, and customer used to come back saying that you have supplied us a faulty part. So they used to lose a contract with the big companies like big mobile manufacturer companies. So by this solution, they are ensuring the quality is 99.9%. That is one part. Second part is their production has gone by 25%. So that means there is an increment in production, there is increment in quality. So both the things are happening together. So we understood their process, we understood their problem, we identified the problem, what was the problem. Then we identify which is the technology which can fit in, because all technology cannot fit in for all the problems. So you need to identify that which technology can go and solve this particular problem. And then we created a solution, and we demonstrated and said this is how you are going to solve the problem. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, next slide, please. So these are the benefits which we have spoken about. Correct. So yeah, next. Yeah, next slide. So this is all about the smart manufacturing. So if there is a Q&A session is there, Nainita? If someone would
yes,
like
sir.
to ask maybe I can entertain about 2 or 3 questions if the time permits. Take a call.
Yeah, let me check, sir, if any questions have come or not. So far, I didn't receive any questions.
So any question from academia side?
Yeah, I will check that also.
Or on the fly, if someone can unmute and ask a question, if the time is there, I don't have any issue, but
Okay, yeah. So far, I didn't receive any questions, sir.
no problem.
Yeah.
So if
Hello,
you have any
Jiten,
questions,
sir?
you can reach out to my credentials. It is there on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, next slide.
Hello. Okay, so audience is requested to note down the details if they have any further queries or
Yeah,
if they have any doubts. they can reach. Yeah.
Correct. So our both partners, the details are here. So we are two different companies joined hand together, and we are a part of Atmanirbhar Bharat. We are helping Government of India by Make in India theme. So our technologies depends purely on the Indian component, Indian brain, and for an Indian client only.
Yeah.
Yeah, next slide. Yeah, this is a beautiful slide.
Yeah, actually.
Thank you so much for giving us an opportunity.
Thank you. Thanks for.
Thank you. Anyone has
Yeah.
queries? Yeah, you can reach out. No issues.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Girish sir. Thank you, Bhupati sir. On behalf of Parul University, Parul Polytechnic Institute, from our department, Mechanical Engineering Department, and rest of the departments, we extend our sincere thanks to both of you for enlightening us with your state of art, your knowledge, your practical exposure in the area of smart manufacturing. Though I am not a technical person, but still I can understand the message that you wanted to convey. So thank you, and we hope to have such interactions in future again and again with you. We thank you, sir. Sincerely, thank you
Yeah,
for
thanks.
sharing your knowledge
We
with
should
all
be
of us.
thanking you, Parul Institute of Technology and Polytechnic, because we got this opportunity to tell that what we are doing. So if someone is interested, definitely we are there to help you out. To anyone who would like to understand more on this subject.
Yeah. Sure, sir. Sure.
Thank you so much.
Jiten, sir?
Thank you, Anil.
Yeah. Jiten,
Yes,
sir?
madam. Yes, madam.
Yeah. Yeah. Shall we end, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.